All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. I am so excited. Um, this is episode 9, and we're going to be looking at a bunch of interesting uh, things we already know, but that are kind of like important, uh, but overlooked. So, the topic tonight is sleep and stress are destroying your health. Sleep and stress are destroying your health. And we're going to be looking at what is the fix, especially, backed by science. And so let me say something that may challenge you. Some of you are already eating better. Some of you are already, you're exercising consistently. You are taking your medications, but you are still not getting better. And the reason is simple. You are trying to heal your body while your body is running on exhaustion and chronic stress. Tonight, we're going to talk about two of the most overlooked drivers of diseases: sleep and stress. Because when these two are off, your hormones are disrupted, your metabolism slows down, and your recovery is delayed. And this is not just my opinion, this is what the science is showing us over and over again. Welcome back to episode 9 of Why Are So Many People Sick Today? So far, we have talked about nutrition, we've talked about insulin resistance, we've talked about cholesterol being friend or foe, we've talked about exercise. But today, we're focusing on the hidden foundation: poor sleep, chronic stress. Listen, recent studies published in the Lancet Journal 2021 and the Journal of the American Medical Association between 2019 and 2023 consistently shows that sleep disruption and stress are strongly linked to the following: cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity. So, we are going to start with sleep is biological repair. What do I mean by that? Let's start with sleep. Okay? Sleep is not passive, it is active repair. According to the National Institute of Health 2022, during sleep, your brain clears toxins, your hormones reset, your inflammation decreases, your metabolism it recalibrates. So, hormones are impacted by sleep, okay? And what hormones are we talking about? Number one is cortisol. A study in the sleep study of 2020 showed that sleep deprivation, all right, keeps cortisol elevated into the evening, meaning your body stays in stress mode. Two, insulin, right? Research from the University of Chicago in 2019 demonstrated that even a few nights of poor sleep can reduce insulin sensitivity by up to 30%. That means your body behaves like it's pre-diabetic. The third hormones we're talking about, leptin and ghrelin, and these, they regulate our hunger and cravings, and when they are out of sync, can lead to increased calorie intake. So, what is the key here? Sleep deprivation is not just fatigue, it is metabolic dysfunction. Now, quickly, I want us to look at snoring and sleep apnea. Okay, why is this important? Because we know every one of us knows somebody that snores when they sleep. Now, let me I want to talk about something that many people overlook, and that is snoring. A lot of people think snoring is harmless, but let me be very clear. Snoring can be a medical problem. What snoring may mean is one of the most common causes, and that could be obstructive sleep apnea. All right. And this is a condition where your airway collapses during sleep. And so breathing repeatedly stops and starts while you are asleep, and your oxygen level drops, waking up your brain and then waking you up. So, what happens in your body when this happens? Your brain keeps waking up and wakes you up. Your sleep becomes fragmented. Your cortisol level increases and your blood pressure rises. That is why sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea, is linked to high blood pressure. So even if you are in bed for 8 hours, your body is now recovering. Now, according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, 2021 to 2023, sleep apnea is strongly associated with hypertension, type 2 diabetes, stroke, of course, cardiovascular diseases as well. So, what are the red flags that may suggest that, hmm, you may have obstructive sleep apnea? Loud snoring, daytime fatigue, making you reach out for cup of coffee to stay awake, morning headaches, waking up gasping for air, poor focus throughout the day, and of course, resistant high blood pressure, resistant hypertension. So, what should you do if this sounds like you or somebody close to you? You will need an evaluation. Okay. This is something that you need to discuss with your primary care provider, and they can order a sleep study for you. This can be done either at home or in a sleep lab. And the treatment will be with a CPAP, device or oral appliances, and they may encourage you to lose weight as well, and some position of, therapy as well. Now, if you're not breathing properly at night, your body cannot heal. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about stress and the hormonal drivers. Stress is not just emotional, it is biological. It activates what we call your HPA axis, which is your hypothalamus pituitary axis, increasing cortisol. And so, chronic stress, according to the American Heart Association 2021, tells us that chronic stress leads to high blood pressure, insulin resistance, abdominal fat, and increased cardiovascular risk. A 2020 review in the Nature's Reviews Endocrinology showed that chronic cortisol exposure contributes directly to metabolic syndrome. And we've heard me talk about metabolic syndrome here over and over and over. So there is a cycle that we're looking at. Now, the 2023 study in JAMA confirmed that poor sleep increases stress. And of course, stress wasn't sleep. And that is the cycle. Okay. Chronic stress keeps your body in survival mode and not the healing mode, which we want it to be, so that it can repair and heal. Quickly, I want to talk about something called the circadian rhythm. You know, your body runs on a clock. Our bodies, my body, yours, and it's called the circadian rhythm. And this controls your hormones, it controls your sleep, it controls your metabolism. All right. And what happens, what disrupts your circadian rhythm? Screens at night, irregular work schedules, shift work. These can disrupt your circadian rhythm. And so we know that this disruption can lead to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Okay? Your body heals on a rhythm. When rhythm is broken, disease follows. What are the practical solutions? Let's make it simple and practical. Now, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention 2023, the recommended sleep is 7 to 9 hours. Consistent sleep time, and of course, sleeping in a dark, cool room. So if you're not shutting off the light at night, your sleep may be affected. Now, how can we manage stress? JAMA 2019 to 2022 talks about deep breathing exercises, and this helps to lower cortisol. It talks about mindfulness, practicing mindfulness, which improves the autonomic balance, and also meditation, prayer, quiet time, which reduces stress load. These are a couple of things that we can do. Now, hormone reset habits are also very important. Morning sunlight, exposing our bodies to that. Daily movement, we talked about this last week. Balanced meals, and reduce screen time and exposure at night. Your body heals when you give it the right environment to recover. So, what have I noticed in my clinical practice? I see this every day. Patients, they come in complaining of being tired all the time, gaining weight despite not changing their eating habits. We see blood pressure rising or not being well controlled. We see blood sugar rising as well, or difficulty controlling the diabetes. And often the root cause is not just diet, it is poor sleep, it is untreated sleep apnea, it is chronic stress. And when we fix this, the body begins to heal. So let me leave you with this: you cannot out exercise poor sleep, you cannot out medicate chronic stress. So, therefore, sleep and stress are not just optional, they are foundational. If this has helped you, I want you to share this with someone you love, someone you know who is tired all the time, has no energy, has uncontrolled blood sugars or blood pressure. So, what are we learning here? We're learning that our bodies need repair, and repair occurs during our sleep time. And chronic stress with poor sleep is a recipe for poor health. It's a recipe for persistently uncontrolled chronic condition. It's a recipe for developing high blood pressure. insulin resistance, and eventually diabetes, and raising our cardiometabolic risk. So, what are we going to do differently? Or what can we do differently? Number one, I want you to prioritize sleep. I want you to see sleep as something that is very crucial to your health. I want you to see sleep as not an option, but the option for you. And I want you to make sure that you're getting between 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. A couple of things that are also important. Some things we call, sleep hygiene. Have a consistent bedtime. Have a consistent bedtime routine, which is very important. Make sure that at least an hour before bedtime, we shut down all the distractions. You know, do things that, will make you to be more calm. Avoid, stress, anxiety provoking activities. Some people, the news makes them really very, very anxious at night. And we all know that many times these days there's really nothing good going on in the news. So if you are one of those people that you easily get anxious, you want to avoid the news if that's your strategy. So make sure also that your bedroom, it is comfortable. You have a night light, which signals to your brain, that it's nighttime. So these are all things that are very important to ensure that we have a good night's sleep. If you wake up every morning tired and not refreshed, that is your cue that something is going on with your sleep. Even though you think that you're sleeping, but your brain may not be sleeping. If you know or you're told that you snore at night, that is also your cue to getting that checked out, because you may have what you call obstructive sleep apnea, which can easily be fixed. Because if it goes on untreated for years, this in itself is a risk factor, like I mentioned earlier, for elevated blood pressure, abnormal blood glucose, and can lead to that, stubborn, belly fat, visceral fat. So certainly treating sleep apnea is really important. And this is done by a sleep study, like I said earlier, which can be done in the lab or at home. This you can discuss with your primary care. Let's make sure that we are managing stress. Stress does not have to be a normal routine for you. I know many of us, we've come to believe that, living with a lot of stress and just trying to exist is normal. No, this is something that you may end up having to pay for in the future. 10 years down the lane, 20 years down the lane, if you're not managing the stress and cortisol remains elevated, trust me, this is something that you will end up paying for. And we don't want to have to, when we're getting ready to retire and you've worked so hard all your life, and then now you're having to deal with the complications of issues that were not properly managed. And that's what we're having these conversations, so we can start to make those little changes. So I wanted to type in the chat one change that you're going to make. If you're not getting at least 7 hours of sleep, you want to start doing that. If you're waking up tired every morning, you want to speak to your provider about that, because these are things that are very, very important. If you're living a high stress life, you want to prioritize stress management. All right. You want to, I know some of us, we just love to work, 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 work. You want to prioritize uh, your vacation. Well, managing stress doesn't have to, come with waiting for vacation. You want to find the things that, you can do on a day-to-day basis, to kind of like, distress. If it has to be deep breathing exercises, meditation, journaling, listening to music, watching a short movie or something, whatever that helps you to manage stress, please prioritize that on a daily basis. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me again tonight. I truly, truly appreciate your time. Listen, if you have not yet subscribed, I want you to please subscribe to our channel. All right, share this with those people around you, people that you love, anyone that you know that is struggling with chronic fatigue. They're tired all the time. They live a high stress level. Please share this with them, and we will still continue next week with our series, Why Are So Many People Sick Today? We have another amazing topic coming your way. So I'm encouraging you, please join me next week, same time, 7 p.m., and I will see you. I'm going to see if we have any questions in the chat that I would love to address before we end the live. All right. I want to thank everyone again tonight. I see all our chats here. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. I am very, very happy that you took time out of your busy schedule to join me. I see a question here. How about sleeping with soothing music to calm one down? So, soothing music is great to put us to sleep, okay? But not to play all through the night while you are supposed to be asleep, because that can anything that's going to be stimulating brain activity while you are supposed to be sleeping, you want to really kind of like avoid, because what will happen is that you may think you're sleeping, but your brain is not sleeping. So yeah, calm, soothing music before bedtime. Absolutely, you can time it. Maybe for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and so that by the time you're asleep, it shuts itself down. I hope that helps. Thank you so much. Yes, let's put away our electronics an hour before bedtime. Let's create a bedtime routine so that by the time it's bedtime, the brain knows it's bedtime and starts to wind down. That is the goal. And don't forget, once you start to put in all these practices, it doesn't mean you're going to fall asleep right away, especially for those people who do have problem falling asleep. When you start a routine, it's going to take time. Don't forget, the brain needs to unlearn all those activities that we used to fit in it with. And so it's going to take some time for your body to adjust and for it to fall into a routine. So it didn't get to where it is right now in one day, so it's not going to reverse in one day. But certainly putting in all those, if you don't have the dark curtains, please invest in it. They're so good, because they put the room in nice and dark, and definitely signaling to the brain. Also, if you don't have a night light, invest in one as well. All right, I'm going to see if there's any more questions. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, I do not see. Yeah. All right, I do not see any other. Thank you so much again. I will see you next week again. Stay healthy, stay well. Don't forget, get your at least 7 hours of sleep every night. Prioritize sleep. Sleep is when your body heals. That's when your hormones reset. And make sure that you move. We talked about this last week. Make sure you continue to incorporate healthy eating habits. And for my Nigerians on the live, if you have not seen the video that we did about processed foods, please watch that as well. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. Thank you. Take care.